The Supreme Court has granted former Kokobo Chief Executive Officer Dr. Stephen Opunu access to his 2 bank accounts which were frozen last year. The court, in a unanimous decision read by Justice Jones Doche, held that only 25,000 cedis in one of the accounts should be maintained. Dr. Opunu, who is standing trial together with businessman Seidu Agongo on various charges, including causing financial loss to the state, has not had access to his account since Yoko commenced investigations. The 5-member panel earlier Tuesday held that Yoko failed to adduce evidence to show that the remaining funds are tainted. There is more in the following report.
One of the grounds for the state's case against Dr. Opunu had been that he received 25,000 cedis from the businessman as a bribe in order to hand him a fertilizer supply contract. And Accra High Court had earlier endorsed Yoko's freezing of the accounts, ruling it was the mandate of the office to protect funds alleged to be tainted. Dissatisfied with the decision, lawyers for Dr. Opunu dragged Yoko to the Supreme Court, seeking to overturn the High Court's decision. They argued that previous decisions of the Apex Court allowed for only tainted funds to remain frozen. Lawyers for the Economic and Organized Crime Office, led by Jacqueline Avotri, urged the Apex Court to maintain the order since Dr. Opunu was still standing trial. The 5-member panel, comprising Justices Jones Doche, Anthony Benin, Akoto Bamfo, Gabriel Puaman, and Yao Appel for over 25 minutes, quizzed the Yoko lawyer on why they feel the remaining funds are tainted. Justice Doche insisted and accused is presumed innocent until proven guilty, unless there is evidence showing the remaining funds are proceeds of crime. He explained in such a situation, the court will be inclined to freeze it. Justice Benin, a member of the panel, said, quote, "You have no right under the law to go beyond the amount specifically linked to the charges, which is 25,000 cedis, unquote. The panel, in a decision read by Justice Doche, set aside the High Court's ruling freezing the accounts and granted access to all the funds except the 25,000 cedis lodged in one of them. The case, in which he is charged with causing financial loss to the state, will be heard on July 23.
Fishermen in the central region are protesting government no fishing in August policy. Government argues that the closed season policy will help replenish depleted fish stocks. But some fishermen in Elmina and Mori disagree. Those in Elmina hit the streets insisting they'll be poorer and hungry if the policy is implemented. They want government to back down on its decision. Central Region correspondent Richard Kujonyakun has more in the following report.
The entire fishing community has been painted red. They appear united in their message to government.
Miracle Jesus.
This is the first time the president is implementing something like this. The truth is that no one informed us. We are hearing this for the first time. When this comes, it will overburden us this year.
This is the first time I heard the
Our husbands rely on the sea for our upkeep. If they close the season, how will we survive? When they close the season this year, many will become robbers and they will rob the women. Government should do something about it. Government is making things difficult for us. If they were going to implement something like this, they should have informed us. What they did was only to meet the chief fisherman. The chief fisherman failed to tell us anything. We cannot accept this to go on.
But when this year, 7th August, 4th September,
Paramount Chief of Edna Traditional Area, Nana Kojo Kondia, who intervened, called on government to revise its decision by shifting the closed season to next year to allow the fishermen, the fishmongers, and other players in the fishing industry prepare themselves adequately for the ban. He intimates they are not against closed season in the fishing industry, but the decision to close the season has taken the fishermen by storm. These were supposed to be done a long time ago. What I want government to know is that in times past, when something like this was going to be implemented, vigorous education was done to sensitize fishermen. It is the chief fishermen government engaged that failed to communicate the issues with the fishermen and fishmongers here. We are appealing to government to reverse its decision and embark on some education on the need for the close season so that next year its implementation will be smooth. The Fisheries Commission, who came to sensitize the fishermen and the fishmongers on the close season, says the close season is a necessary tool to help the fishermen improve their catch and guarantee their trade. Kwame Damwa is the zonal coordinator of the Fisheries Commission.
And the information we were getting from the ground was that their leaders didn't give full communication of the issues and the situation on the ground with them. What we decided as Fisheries Commission is that we wanted to engage them on the community level. That's why we brought in the various leaders and opinion leaders. That was what we were expecting. But we realized that they had a very, more or less, a different idea about the whole thing. The whole thing they wanted to say is that we don't want it, we don't want it. But then when we had explained a little, they realized that no, then it is important. You see that now they were rather backtracking to say that, okay, the timing is not good for us. So it's not that the timing is not actually good. Any change is very difficult. It is something that had to be done immediately. Because Senegal, for now, as I'm speaking to you, they closed their season for 3 months. Liberia is doing the same. Madagascar is doing it. Why not Ghana?
For now, the fishermen here at Elmina say they will flout the orders of government to close the season. Richard Kwejinya Akon, Joy News, Elmina.
In a related development, the minority in Parliament is demanding an immediate reversal of government's ban. Addressing a media briefing in Parliament House Tuesday, they said there is no legal or scientific basis for the ban. Minority spokesperson on agriculture, Eric Opoku, warns the ban will impoverish Ghanaian fisherfolk.
The team that recommended the closure, like you said, they indicated that in August, because it's a spawning period, they come very close to the shore. What we are asking is this: if this is the case, what informed the ban in January and February? Because if it is established that that spawning will take place only in August, was it necessary to play a ban on fishing in January and February 2018? But they did it. What we are saying is that if you assume that the fish is in one place, and that if they want to spawn, they will just come to the shore to do it and go away, that assumption is inaccurate, because they move. They are migrating. Yes, the same scientific study. The same study. And the committee is aware that they are moving from the east from the west towards the east. So they are migrating. So whenever they get to a place and the pregnant ones feels like delivering, they do it and go away. Can you assure Ghanaians that the fish will be in our waters for our farmers to go and catch? Because they are migrating. For the fishers to go and catch them. Because they are migrating. After spawning, the presumption is that we multiply the fish stock. So after spawning, if you go for fishing, you are presumed to get more fish. Now, during the period of spawning, the fishers get more fish. The period that they are describing as the period for spawning, they get more fish. And after that period, they don't get it.
Now, the Fisheries and Agriculture Ministry says a Livelihood Empowerment Committee is deliberating on livelihood support for the fisherfolk, as government will not back down on implementation of the month-long ban on fishing starting next month. Responding to concerns and protests by some fisherfolk, particularly in the Central Region, Deputy Minister for Fisheries, Francis Atukujo, said even though an initial plan to solicit $3.5 million through a World Bank program to support the fishermen was unsuccessful, talks are ongoing with the Director General of Food and Agriculture Organization of Rome for some financial support, and fishermen will be allowed to use a retention from the Premix Fuel Fund. He spoke on the Pulse earlier.
The fishers themselves came to our office and complained that live fishing is killing their business. We organized a forum in Accra here on live fishing. They came and beat us up. Minister and some US funded program, they lined the program at part of Greater Accra. And
they beat you up?
They beat them up. The white people, these Americans, they were running like that. You understand? Recently, they were trying to place embargo on Psycho in the central region. They called me and told me that if I come, they will beat me. I went there. They masked up. They wanted to come and beat me. It took the intervention on the Columbia, the mine of Elmina. Is that a society that I want to build? That once it is us, we fishermen, once the thing affects us, nobody should touch it. But we know that this is going to collapse the industry, and we will not sit down for the industry to collapse under our watch. We will not do that. When I was appointed as Deputy Minister, the President charged to us was to ensure that we improve the fishing sector. And so if you have this strong recommendation, and it's not just a fresh recommendation, it's something the reporters have been coming through. Okay. Way back 20 years, they were planning to do closed season. They haven't been able to do it. The committee has recommended to government.
And it has to be done.
And government is the leader now, and they have to take the decision.
And it has to be done. So you're basically saying that the inability of the ministry to plan or to map out a plan for alternative livelihood for these people for the next month, that they won't be working, is as a result of when the report came to you.
Yes, it's as a result of when the report came to us. And it's not easy to get money from central government to take care of about 3 million people within a short period of time. So, like I said, we have sent out a couple of letters. We are following them up. I have personally sat with the Director General of Food and Agriculture Organization in Rome. He is prepared that his organization will support us. In terms of support for the program, education, campaign, and other things, we have USAID that is also on our side, giving us some money for this program. So all these things are going on. We also have set up, like I said, the Livelihood Empowerment Committee that is supposed to bring us recommendation on what we can do within the shortest possible time to support the fishers. If they have not submitted their report, then maybe by the end of this week or so, they should submit their report.
By end of this week.
We're taking a break on Joy News Prime, but still ahead, teachers, nurses and other public sector workers made to queue for hours at the start of a nationwide exercise to raid government payroll of ghost names, criticized poor planning. We find out how the Auditor General plans to address their concerns as the exercise resumes on Wednesday. Stay tuned, we will be back in a bit. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, police in the Ashanti region have shot 7 suspected armed robbers who are believed to have been linked to an armed robbery, a highway robbery that happened in the Ashanti region. I've been joined on line right now by Erastus Asaredonko with details of that shootout or engagement with the suspected armed robbers. Hello, Erastus. So, what's the story about this attack or, encounter between the police in the Ashanti region and the suspected armed robbers?
Premise on this is that if you remember, some policemen were shot in a robbery incident close to 2 weeks ago at Manso Ayiribi in the Ashanti region. And so since then, the police have been very vigilant in that part of Ashanti region where mining takes place, and residents have been complaining of armed robbery attacks. And so today we are learning that the police on their normal patrol got intelligence that the armed robbers will be attacking the Chinese national. And so they went in and they confronted them. They fired back, and they lost 7 of the suspected armed robbers. As we speak, their bodies have been were displayed today at the Central Police Headquarters in Kumasi. But as we speak, they've been sent to the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital mortuary, where they are being kept for the moment. So it was a confrontation between the police and the suspected armed robbers who attacked some Chinese nationals. And so the police also fired back, and 7 of them lost their lives. We are going to be briefed tomorrow per what we've been told by the Ashanti Regional Police Command, that they will give us the official statement from the police tomorrow morning at 10 at the police headquarters.
Now, you say that they shot 7. Is that the case that there were more of these people, of the suspected armed robbers involved? Are there any attempts to try and get the others?
Well, that's what our police informants are telling us, that indeed there were a number of them, and it's something that they do within that particular vicinity. Residents have attested to that. Some residents followed up to the Central Police Headquarters today, and they attested to the fact that they have come under intense attack by armed robbers recently. And so it's possible, per the information we had, that there could be more of them as we speak, but then the shootout engaged between the police and the suspected armed robbers left 7 dead. So tomorrow we'll get to know from the police how many were able to escape, how many they were dealing with, what exactly took place, what they were trying to snatch from these Chinese nationals, and then we'll get more details into that incident.
Now, what we're also learning, as you indicated, they brought these people, the corpses of the suspected armed robbers, to the command, and then there was supposed to have been a news briefing, and then somehow it was botched. What happened?
Yeah, exactly. When we went in there, they were cleaning the blood stains from where they were laid at the Central Police Headquarters, and we gathered information that indeed some of our colleagues from other media houses did some live with the dead bodies lying prostrate at the Central Police Headquarters. This did not go down well with the command, and so they were not really happy with what went on. They were not expecting that the media will capture the gory pictures of the bodies lying over there at the Central Police Headquarters live on TV. And so the command was not too happy with that incident. But we do not know at the moment whether that is the reason why we couldn't get a briefing we were supposed to get this afternoon. But we waited for a while, close to 2 hours, and we were told that the command will not brief us today. We'll be briefed tomorrow morning. But we also understand that they are cross-checking names. They are trying to identify these bodies, attach names to the bodies. Today, their fingerprints were taken. The dead. The CID people took their fingerprints and other details before they were bagged and taken to the mortuary. And so we are also getting information that they wanted to some time to cross-check their details, get background information and all that before they come before the press.
All right, thank you very much, Rastus Sasaradon, for bringing us that update from Kumasi in the Ashanti region. Elsewhere, some government workers in the central region are angry about an ongoing special audit exercise meant to rid government payroll of ghost names. The nationwide exercise, which is a collaboration between the Auditor General and the Special Prosecutor, got underway in the central region capital on Tuesday. The workers, however, say they've been unduly harassed and have described the exercise as a waste of productive working hours. Some of them who spoke were joining us to Central Region correspondent Richard Kojo-Nyakun, say they're unhappy about the exercise.
Actually, that makes sense because it was not planned well. Maybe they didn't envisage the number of people who will be coming here to do this very exercise. So you are talking about all public sector workers come down to this place to do the exercise. It's hectic. And so we believe that next time they have to come down to meet the stakeholders and plan very well before the program takes off, because we'll be in the queue from 9 o'clock up to this very far. If you go inside, the number of people who are there, you can imagine. And so I believe that they should have planned very well. My concern still has got to do with the productive hours that we are wasting here.
My concern is that, in fact, these exercises is becoming very, very, very stressful for us. us. Because within the past 5 years, if my memory serves me right, we have had more than 10 of these headcounts. In fact, some of us nearly even lost our certificates in the process. So we are praying and we are hoping that this will be the end of these exercises for us.
I think this exercise is not necessary because they've been doing validation every month, which you know the number of people that are in the system. Right now, we've left all the children in the school and we are here. All the teachers are here, leaving the children behind. So please, the exercise is too much for us. It's unnecessary, very unnecessary.
The Auditor General's Department has acknowledged the challenges encountered and has assured they will be addressed when the exercise resumes on Wednesday. Now, Deputy Auditor General George Winful joins me live now with how they intend to address these concerns. Good evening, and thank you for making time, Mr. Winful. What, in your estimation, were the challenges with the start of your exercise on Tuesday?
Good evening, Israel, and thanks for having me on air. I must say, rather than what is being reported or the accounts that I just heard on air, it's rather the opposite. I think that the exercise has been very, very successful, and we are really very grateful to Central Region for the responding to this call in this manner.
The challenge with the people we have been speaking with is the fact that they had to queue for quite a while, quite a long time, for hours.
Yes.
And that is their challenge, that they had to leave their offices and their schools in the classrooms to come and queue for that long.
Yes, yes, you are right. And in fact, when we realized the large numbers, we found a way of mitigating it, reducing the pressure. You know, if we call you and government employees know the consequences of they not getting enumerated, then obviously they will rush to come and do the enumeration. So we expected that there was going to be that kind of rush. But the response that we put in place helped to reduce the pressure. It went well. Definitely some will still not be pleased with it, but largely it went very, very well. What we tried to do was that we tried to set up additional centers. For instance, the Central Hospital, the teaching hospital at Interbeton, we set up a center there so that the health workers will not have to abandon the hospital and all troop into the town hall to do the enumeration. And we set up another center in other locations that helps to reduce the pressure. But like I'm saying, Central Region is a place that we use as a pilot to learn more and improve on the system.
All right.
Tomorrow, for instance, we are setting up another center at Auditor College to take care of education officers. We know that there are teaching staff in some of the schools, and they have to get enumerated and move very fast. We are prioritizing along those lines to ensure that all those doing very essential services get attended to. And we'll continue to improve on what we are doing to reduce the pressure and to ensure that services continue to go on unhindered.
Mr. Winful, you talk about the fact that you're setting up another center at Auditor College. Have you communicated this to the education workers so that they don't have to go to the other places before they realize they have to go to Auditor College?
Yes, we are working closely with the heads of institutions. Ghana Education Service, for instance, holds a large number of government employees. So we have spoken to their head of HR, one lady called Juliet. We've spoken to her, and we reached this consensus of setting up a center at Auditor College to take care of government officials at the ministries as well as some of the teachers that will all be coming for immigration. We plan setting up one at the ministry in Cape Coast. But we try not to, we want to get places where it's convenient. When people come, they can get places to sit and feel comfortable. And at the ministry, they don't have such a place. So that is why we decided to go to Addis College and get our government employees enumerated there.
Right.
Apart from that, we are setting up another one at Regional Coordinating Council to also take care of all government employees at that end. We are going to set up one at the Cape Coast Polytechnic, also to take care of those at that end. So I would say tomorrow will even be better than today. But today has gone very, very well. I'm so pleased with everybody who came. And those few who felt some discomfort, we apologize for it, and surely going to improve on the exercise so that we all can breathe and have a clean payroll.
All right. Now, one other concern that they have raised has to do with what is so different about this exercise, because they say that there have been similar exercises in the past to rid the public sector payroll of ghost workers, and yet they keep on coming back to the same exercise. What is so different this time around?
If it was audit service who was doing all those enumerations, then I wouldn't have the courage to come and speak the way I'm speaking. There have been other institutions who have carried out such head counts. I think that they did their best, but we have learned from the experiences of all those. For instance, not quite long, there was head count in one institution where the head of that institution came out to say that he was not enumerated. That was an embarrassing one. We do not want to go through all those. We will take it step by step and ensure that everybody is counted. We are not in a hurry to declare ghosts. We are in a hurry to ensure that everybody is counted. And we will make sure that everybody is counted. And when we finish with that, we will pass on the baton to Controller and Accountant General as well as government to ensure that people who have been enumerated are put on the payroll, those ghost names or whatever, the control that they have to put in place so that we don't come back to this same situation and they do take care of it. Again, I hope that heads of management units will also try their best to be responsive when a staff separates in terms of death, in terms of resignation, in terms of anything. They also try to be as responsive as possible to ensure that the people's name gets deleted. I mean, undesirable people or people who have separated through death or whatever gets deleted. This is something that all of us have to bring our hands on deck to ensure that the payroll, when we declare that these are the eligible people to be on the payroll, we continue to safeguard and ensure that no ghost enters the payroll.
Right.
It's a collective effort we require all.
Mr. Winful, you've talked about the fact that essentially you're going to do your part and hand it over to the Controller and Accountant General's department. Yes. It means that if the loopholes are not dealt with at the Controller and Accountant General's department, we're likely to come back to this another headcount going down in the future. I am
very hopeful. Already government
you talk about being hopeful, but hope has brought us thus far.
I can't be 100%, but I'm very hopeful because structures that government is putting in place, like introducing the Human Resource Management Information System. If we take advantage of this system that government is rolling out, that will take care of the management of human resource of government employees. I believe that we will go a long way in ensuring that we have a clean office.
All right.
Again, payroll. Again, attitude of administrators. Some administrators, when you even notify them of the previous staff, they take it very casually. Many do not think up to the public part, that my action is hurting the public part. This is an attitudinal issue. If all these things are addressed, or heads of management unit or supervisors ensure that officers under them are properly supervised so that notifications such as separated staff and so on get to them and they take prompt action, we won't get to where we are.
Right.
And what we will do is that we will also use our audit to expose anybody who does not respond properly when we have issues like that, and then sanctions will apply strongly when they do not act as is required of them. But mine depends on all of us to bring our hands on deck and ensure that we have a clean payroll and a clean Ghana.
Thank you very much, George Winful. George Winful is the Deputy Auditor General. We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime. We bring you business news next. But Ghana's nominee for the International Criminal Court last year, Professor Henrietta Vincent Bonsu, is in contention for the Electoral Commission chair role. We'll bring you that story after business news. Stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome to Business. Now, as government considers some tax policy measures ahead of the mid-year budget review, Executive Director at the Center for Extractives and Development Africa, Emmanuel Kunyule, is calling for a review of tax exemptions in the extractive sector. He says there are too many exemptions that affect domestic revenue mobilization. Emmanuel Kunyule spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the 2018 IFETCH Flamingo Awards for Business and Financial Journalism.
The extractive sector makes significant contribution to Ghana's economy in terms of revenue mobilization. However, some loopholes in the taxation regime are denying the country of much more revenue. Government is currently struggling to meet its revenue targets, and there are speculations that it may increase taxes to make up for the shortfall. However, speaking at the launch of this year's IFETCH Flamingo Awards for Business and Financial Journalism, Executive Director at the Center for Extractives and Development Africa, Emmanuel Kunyule, said the extractive sector could contribute more if these loopholes are closed.
The specific case of Ghana, with the recent changes in the tax regime and so on, that's been good. The problem has been complying with the laws that we ourselves have put in place. There are too many exemptions that the government is giving that is very difficult to comprehend or understand the rationale behind that. What is informing that? Knowing that when you give out those exemptions, it is revenue you are giving away. And so if you don't have anything to complement that, then you're going to lose revenue.
The 5th edition of the IFETCH Flamingo Awards, which is expected to be held in December this year, would reward fully subscribed IFETCH members who have worked on remarkable news stories in various fields of business and finance reporting. Professor John Gache is chairman of this year's jury, and he shares his expectations.
As we spell out clearly what we are looking for. We are not expecting just going for a function and report, or we are not expecting that just as the mid-year review is going to be made, the report that or the statement that are made, then you just publish the statement, then after that you submit that as an entry. That will not actually pass. So we want thorough work, innovative work that will consider the issues. When there is a need to consult broadly, you do that. When there is a need to get the figures, you get the figures from the right sources. It is only then that you draw our attention to your paper.
IFETCH was formed in 1990 with the objective to advance the study, development and application of improved financial and economic communication methods through appropriate hands-on approaches and platforms. This year's award ceremony has special focus on the extractive sector.
Oil marketing company Total Petroleum Ghana has introduced the Total Troxy Card, a package for commercial drivers to help reduce fuel and lubricant costs while receiving prizes for their loyalty. Karen Dodu has more in this report.
The Total Troxy Club, which is the first of its kind by Total Petroleum, is to help commercial drivers purchase fuel and lubricants at a discounted rate of 5%. The card, which would also track purchases made by drivers, will also enable them win prizes from Total Ghana every 3 months. Speaking on the sidelines of the launch of the card, Managing Director of Total Petroleum Ghana, Eric Franchini, noted that his outfit would soon roll out small packages to reward its customers.
Well, basically, we are launching a lot of innovative actions at the moment. I mean, you may have seen that 3 weeks ago we launched our first solar stations. Today it's about commercial drivers. It's about giving them a good tool. We know that we are very well conscious that fuel has a cost, and we are trying to help them also to run their business, basically.
Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, Kweku Ajimandia, lauded the package by Total Ghana.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good. It's something, it's innovation which comes as a result of the deregulation exercise we have in the industry. You see the innovative strategies the oil marketers are bringing up. It's all to the benefit of the average consumer. Now, right now, you see a program specifically made for the trotro and the taxi people, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Drivers can recharge their cars by making payments at Total filling stations across the country.
In other news, Societe Generale Ghana says shareholders of the bank have agreed to mobilize resources to support additional funds from the bank's income surplus for last year to meet the Bank of Ghana's new minimum capital requirement. Managing Director Sionle Yu says the process is expected to end by September this year. He spoke in an interview with Joy Business after the bank took its turn at the Facts Behind the Figures series at the Ghana Stock Exchange here in Accra. Ebenezer Sabuti has more in this report.
The central bank's deadline for all commercial banks in the country to meet the new minimum capital requirement of 400 million Ghana cedis is gradually approaching. To this end, all the banks in the country are pursuing measures to get funds to meet the requirement before December this year. After taking its turn at the just ended Facts Behind the Figures, Managing Director of Societe Generale, Sionle Yu, said he's optimistic that all the measures put in place by the bank to recapitalize will be completed by September this year.
We are really willing to get there the soonest. This is why we've put in place everything in the bank to ensure that we will be there by end of September. The process is ongoing. As I told you, we have already carried out a first step, that was to convert part of our income surplus into the stated capital, 97 million. This one is done. And for the remaining, this is 165 million. We have started the process, and we know that our main shareholders are ready to contribute, and they know the schedule. They know that we want to be there in September. So it's just a question of managing the project that will lead us there. But we have no doubt that we will be there.
He admitted that the new minimum capital will help banks to grow their financial strength.
More capital, more money, and they will be expecting more profitability. And within an environment where you have the interest rates dropping, the only solution you have is to increase your business. And in a well-oriented economy, this is possible. This is what we are working on, even by getting more market share.
The bank has a stated capital of about 235 million Ghana cedis as of June 2018.
Group Sales and Marketing Director of DevTraco, Yorge Osoria, has touted the country's economic potential as being friendly for business growth. In an interview with Joy Business after the launch of a promotion to reward readers of its newspapers, Yorge Osoria said despite some challenges within the real estate sector, Ghana remains one of the fastest growing countries in the African region. Fauziato Adam was at the launch and has come through with this report.
Leading print media in the country, Graphic Communications Group Limited, has partnered real estate developer DevTraco Group to launch a promotion dubbed DevTraco Graphic Dream House Promo in Accra. The promotion will reward loyal readers of Graphic brand on a weekly and monthly basis with items such as mobile phones, cash prize of 1,000 Ghana cedis every week and 5,000 Ghana cedis every month. Group Sales and Marketing Director of DevTraco Group, Jorge Osoria, described Ghana as one of the fastest growing countries in the world.
We have in Ghana many problems. For instance, the mortgage rates averaging 30%. They're one of the most expensive in the world. And the roading problem, that we import the majority of the material, the construction materials. the lands. You have to buy land twice or three times because you never know who is the legitimate owner. So there's a few challenges here and there. But for what I understand, and I already know Ghana quite a bit, Ghana is leading the way to leave these challenges behind. So I'm sure that regarding all these issues that I've mentioned, the mortgage rates, they are going down, the inflation is every year dropping. I'm not a politician, so it's not up to me to enhance these virtues. But that's the fact that we understand. So in getting back to your question, we won't keep on complaining, my economy, my budget, etc. But if you look comparison to the rest countries in Africa, we in Ghana are a lot better than them.
On his part, Director of Marketing at Graphic, Mr. Franklin Sowa, said the overall objective of the promo was to inculcate the habits of reading among Ghanaians, as well as increase sales of various newspapers by the company.
Our basic rationale as Graphic Communications Group is the fact that we are in an industry that globally is going through a lot of strain and stress. Generally in Ghana, the reading habits are dropping significantly, and we believe that if people are reading, our mindsets are developed, our understanding of issues are better, and we all contribute our bit to national development. So this is an initiative to create excitement around our brands, which are predominantly reading materials, not just reading materials, but educative, entertaining, life transforming content daily, and we believe that this is an opportunity for us to create excitement around the brands again.
Readers are expected to buy the various brands of newspapers such as Daily Graphic, The Mirror, Graphic Showbiz, Graphic Sports, and Graphic Business, and submit a promotional cutout page at designated points. The promo ends on December 31st, 2018.
And that's all in business. We have more business for you when you log on to our website, myjournline.com/business. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Have a good evening.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, Joy News is learning Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu is likely to be named the next Electoral Commissioner following the impeachment of Charlotte Osei. JoyOnline.com understands the president is keen on replacing the first female EC boss with another female. The president is set to have consulted Ghana's most successful electoral commissioner, Farah Jang, and leading statesman before settling on the law professor. Now, my colleague Raymond Aqua has joined me here in the studio with some brief background as to the people in contention, because it turns out that the law professor, is not the only one in contention. Raymond, so let's start with Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu. Who is she, and why are we saying, or why does it appear that she is most likely going to end up being the next chairperson of the Electoral Commission?
So Professor Joy Abdel-Yakun Mensah-Bonsu is actually, she, most people would know, was most recently Ghana's nominee, ECOWAS's nominee to the ICC as judge. She only lost out to one man from Italy. And actually, the last round of voting, in the sixth round of voting, she lost out in that particular contest. There were 11 others in that particular race, and she couldn't make it to the ICC, replacing Professor Ekuya Kwenye here from the same law faculty. Now, what she's done at the law faculty, she went to do law right from Wesley Girls High School. She was the first then to have gotten first female to have gotten first class in law at that time. Then she went to Yale Law School, then had a PhD later on, came back to Ghana, came to start teaching along the line, a little practice before that particular time. She's been part of the rebuilding process in Liberia for a very long time, both as UN Deputy Commissioner, also UN Deputy High Panel Chair, and also the ECOWAS's representative. She's helped establish their legal system after all of the civil war and the many things that happened in Liberia, and also became one of the permanent panel members for a judiciary system that was set up in Liberia to help them bring to fruition their virtually destroyed judicial system in that country. So that's what she's done in Liberia for a very long time, and many people know her for that. Back here in Ghana, between 2002 and 2004, we had the National Reconciliation Commission. There was a panel of 9 that was actually in charge of that particular commission. She was on that particular panel. A panel of eminent personalities, including the late Professor Amon Sechi and all of the other people who sat on that commission. She was the one from the law faculty and also the female lawyer on that particular panel too. She's also done a lot of work, in civil society in general. She's not stopped teaching at the law faculty as a professor. Criminal law, jurisprudence, and other alternative dispute resolution are the things that she's been teaching at the law faculty for a very long time. In between teaching at the law faculty and going outside the country to work for the UN and the AU and also ECOWAS at different levels, she was the director of the Lagos Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy. It was just beginning of this year that she had to leave that office and, of course, usher herself into the final days at the law faculty too. So this is one woman who's done work for government, John Kufuor's time in the National Reconciliation Commission, done a lot of work for the UN bodies and other international bodies, being your sole representative. And if you do recall, President Akufo-Addo vouched for her, went as far as asking his colleague heads of states on the continent and also in the sub-region to support her. ECOWAS agreed, AU did not agree, and they supported her quest to be on the ICC as judge. That did not happen. We got to know why that did not happen along the line. So this is the woman that's been suggested in this case. The consideration you understand is because the president has started some very serious consultations, and the people who are being included on the list is one person who's been chair of the commission for a very long time. In fact, in the Fourth Republic, he stayed the longest period. That's Dr. Owusu Afriyie, who left office before Salvatore took over in the run-up to the after the 2012 election. So this is how critical that conversation is supposed to be. And her name seems to be leading the list of people that have been suggested in this particular case. Many will say she's overqualified, mindful of her reputation and all the things that have been done in other places too.
Right, so there are 2 others who are also, whose names have also come up, and we're talking about Dr. Emmanuel Akwete of IDEC. This is
IDEC's Emmanuel Akwete. Dr. Emmanuel Akwete is also of a political science background. He's actually into international political science and these institutions study for a very long time. He started civil society work in Ghana, then set up the IDEC. He actually taught in the US for some time before coming to Ghana. He went to school in Sweden, where he got a PhD and other places. So that is a man who's contributed. And if you do recall, in the run-up to the 2012 election, the peace building exercise, the Peace Accord in Kumasi, he was very critical to setting up that committee, eminent personalities committee, including the Otumfuo, who asked the various candidates to go ahead and sign peace pacts. This is not the first time Dr. Akwete is coming up. You do recall that in the run-up to the the last set for the replacement of Dr. Afriyie, we were told that his name was top on the list, together with Professor E. Jimabwedi, who came out to say that, oh no, he feels that age is not on his side, so may not be able to take up a very vigorous position like that. We then settled on the thinking that Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, because of his experience and the long-term advocacy he's done in the country and his competence in electoral matters, have been on panels and other important issues, there is no other way that he'll be skipped. Finally, he was not the best choice that was chosen by the president then. So it's not surprising that we have him coming in again as a nominee of a sort, or as a contender for the position.
And the other person is H. Kwesi Prempeh.
Yes, the Seton Hall law professor is known for his engagement with the CDD. Even when he was teaching and he's been teaching in the US since 2003. In that Seton Hall University. He trained at Yale, where Professor Henrietta Mensah was also trained too, and he's been leading the legal and policy department of CDD for a very, very long time. And people did not know that prior to he becoming the executive director, in replacement of Professor E. Jimabwedi, who was also thought to be one person more qualified to be in the position some time ago. So he comes in with a very long-term experience, and he's one of those lawyers who has a huge governance background, who believes in a lot of constitutionalism. He's taught that before. He also believes in the rule of law. He believes in electoral reforms, and in the up to the 2016 elections, advocated that on so many platforms. So this is the man that's also a contention in this particular case. One thing that drives you all is a political science background, a law background, a governance background, which is virtually in all of these cases, a PhD looks like the basic requirement for you to be in that particular league in there. And it looks also to be the activist kind of people as one of the people that have been considered. All three of them have done various levels of activism here in Ghana, on the continent, and the other fora too. So it'll be interesting how it will pan out at the end of the day.
When do we get to know who's been chosen? Do you have any idea?
This week, it was largely reported that the Deputy Attorney General, Godfrey Dame, is saying that the president will finally make a choice this week. People suspect that by Thursday evening, early Friday morning, that particular decision would have been made, and the announcement will be done. Perhaps, when the VAT or other taxes comes in, something to make it even interesting.
All right. Thank you very much, Raymond Nakwa, for bringing us that update. Now, in other news, in spite of opposition from the minority in Parliament Tuesday approved a $90 million loan facility from the Exim Bank of Korea for the establishment of the University of Environment and Sustainable Development at Bunso in the Eastern region. The minority is accusing government of breaching the law that established the university by deciding to develop the Bunso campus instead of the original Donkokrum campus. Speaker Michael Quay was compelled to conduct a head count after minority leader Haruna Idrisu challenged an earlier voice vote approving the facility. Joseph Opokugakpo has more.
This is actually an issue that first came up on Friday. The House debated a report of the Finance Committee recommending that Parliament approves this $90 million loan facility. But when it came to the time for a vote on that, it was discovered that there weren't enough MPs to go ahead and vote on it. So a decision was deferred to today. When the question was put for approval on this particular loan facility, the voice vote was done, and then the minority leader Haruna Idrisu challenged that and requested that there goes a head count before a final decision is taken. When the head count was done, well, it took quite a while. The Speaker requested that those who agree that the loan facility be approved go ahead and stand up. The number was counted, and then on the minority side as well, those who disagree were asked to rise up. The numbers were counted, and eventually it was 125 MPs for this facility against 75 who voted against it. And so eventually the Speaker made the point that this facility had actually been approved. But the minority would have none of that. They are insisting the approval was illegal. Deputy Minority Leader James Klucha.
Why is it so? Why is it taken? Is it because the NDC has a stronghold or has a sitting MP from that area? And for that matter, and minority is the currently ruling that constituency. And for that matter, they don't want the people to benefit from the.
So that's actually a suspicion.
It's a suspicion.
That probably Donkokrum is the stronghold of the NDC,
that is
and
why
they don't move it to Bunso, which is the stronghold of the MPP. You are actually politicizing it.
I am not. Maybe they are politicizing it.
What do you intend doing now?
I think that the best thing for us to do is to go and test the case in court. But we haven't taken that decision yet. But that is my personal decision, and I think that if I propose that for my side, it's something that we'll consider.
But the majority disagrees.
Donkokrum, so many Bunso will get their campuses in good time. It will get a fair share, but for now the loan approved and everything in the name of Bunso, which I believe the people of Bunso will equally and stand to benefit. And they are also equally important like Donkokrum and other people. So we'll go there. One of the essential ingredients of democracy is that when you are not happy with a policy or with an idea, you go to court to seek redress. So I support that. I salute him for that. Yeah, you should go to court and seek redress.
Deputy Ranking Member on Parliament's Health Committee is asking government to immediately bail out hospitals across the country with $80 million to ease the current crisis on the health front. From this amount, Dr. Robert Kuganab Leb wants $2 million allocated to teaching hospitals, $1 million to regional hospitals, and the rest to district hospitals to set up emergency centers. Delivering a statement on recommendations to deal with the no-bed crisis and other challenges on the health front, he called on the NHIS to make prompt payments to hospitals so they have capital to run on. He says the healthcare system is currently on its knees and needs the bailout.
I propose 3 strategies to achieve this. 1, bail up sum of money. 2, retooling the health service system. And 3, public-private partnership. Mr. Speaker, an amount of $2 million should be made available to all teaching hospitals, $1 million to each regional hospital, and $250,000 to each district hospital. This gives us a sum of $80 million. The lives that will be saved by this intervention cannot be quantified in monetary terms. This bailout amount, Mr. Speaker, will be used to create emergency facilities or renovate some spaces to cater for emergency cases and or serve as treatment centers. Monies owed institutions by the National Health Insurance Scheme should be paid to them immediately, and monies denied them by the capping system should also be refunded.
My Deputy Health Minister Kingsley Abajijedu is asking where the money will come from. Right, sorry about that. We're having some challenges with that soundbite. But in other news, farmers at Kawe in the Saula district of the northern region have resorted to the use of dry cell batteries as a form of fertilizer because they say they cannot afford the product in the market. The farmers also use the dry cell batteries as seed dressers before planting. They extract the black substance from the battery, they mix it with the crop and water before planting. This, they said, adds nutrients to the seed, leading to high yields. The farmers also say they use the battery mixture to fight the fall-army worm, which invaded the area last year.
The farmers say they have never cited any agric extension officer in the area, and so they had to resort to using their own knowledge to ensure crop yield. A farmer, Oli Confrate, said they have been using the batteries for the past years for increased yield, and it also worked for the fall-army worm last year.
When you plant using the batteries, it adds nutrient to the plant. We don't have money. We have been doing this every year, and it's yielding results.
Another farmer, Kunte, said the cost of fertilizer is too high, and so they are unable to buy. He said the dry cells is safe to use.
He's saying that the reason is that,
as you can see, the maize is beautiful, as if we have used fertilizer, but it is the battery solution. Money is hard to come by to buy fertilizer, but the battery is very cheap. The insecticide to kill the worm is not available, so it is the battery solution we use, and it has no side effects.
Another resident of the area, Francis Kunjate, said no chemical was given them last year during the outbreak of the fall-army worm. He said they had to improvise.
Affected by the army worm. They are destroying it. Even last year when we farmed here, we couldn't get anything. And this year, we farm again and they are affected. Here's the situation. We don't have money to go and afford the chemicals.
But Deputy Director of the Savannah Agricultural Research Institute, Dr. Roger Canton, said the act can lead to cancer.
So in the first place, dry cells are not made for that purpose. So that is certainly wrong. And dry cells have calcium carbide, CHC, CaC2. Okay, and calcium carbide is a carcinogenic substance. Carcinogenic in what sense? When I say carcinogenic, it means it causes cancer. And cancer is very dangerous, whether cancer of the kidney, cancer of the lung, whichever. So farmers are are advised not to, in the first place, use it for that purpose. That is why it is with caution if you are to dispose of dry cells. If you look at the label, it is specified how they should be disposed of. So under no circumstance should any farmer be encouraged or advised to use dry cells for the purpose of protecting seeds from pests and diseases, rodents and birds, and to the extent of even talking about fertilizer. Calcium carbide does not contain nitrogen, which is the number one element that all plants need. Number two is phosphorus. Calcium carbide doesn't contain phosphorus. Number three, potassium. It doesn't contain potassium. Not to talk of sulfur, zinc, and others. So it is a wrong thing, and we should be, with immediate effect, discouraged.
My name is Israel. Have a good evening.